Good morning students. I welcome you all for the class. Today in this class we'll be going to discuss regarding shortest job first. So in the last class we have seen regarding one of the scheduling algorithm, that is first come first serve scheduling algorithm. Like we have seen how the processes are going to be allocated to the CPU, like in what basis they are going to be allocated, first come first serve, in the sense which process enters into the ready queue, that process will be allocated to the processor, like first come first serve is that. So what is the drawback we have faced with first come first serve scheduling algorithm is convey effect. So what do you mean by a convey effect? In the sense, for suppose the first process in the ready queue is going to have 100 milliseconds of burst time, but when it comes to the second process in the ready queue is it needs only 2 milliseconds of its burst time, but this second process has to wait 100 milliseconds. Why? Because as the first process enters in the ready queue first, the priority will be given to the first process only. But what is the burst time of the first process? It is 100 milliseconds. But when it comes to the second process, it is of 2 milliseconds. But we can't stop the first process and we can't allocate the second process. So that is the convey effect. That is the problem we are going to face in the first come first serve scheduling algorithm. So in order to overcome that problem, what we are going to do is we are going for the second and the next scheduling algorithm, which is a shortest job first scheduling algorithm. Today we will be going to see regarding this shortest job first scheduling algorithm. So in this shortest job first scheduling algorithm, like here also you will be going to have two. So preemptive and non-preemptive. Fine. So these are the two types of schedulings, like preemptive scheduling and non-preemptive scheduling. So preemptive, in the sense we can stop in the middle. We can stop in the middle, like we can stop in the middle. But when it comes to non-preemptive, in a sense, we cannot stop in the middle when a processor has been allocated. Non-preemptive, in the sense we cannot stop the processor. Fine, this is the preemptive and non-preemptive shortest job scheduling first. So first we'll be going for this non-preemptive scheduling algorithm of shortest job first. Why? Because non-preemptive, in the sense we cannot stop the processor in the middle until unless it is exit out of the CPU by itself. We can't forcibly stop the processes in the middle. So that is non-preemption. But when it comes to the preemption, like preemption or preemptive scheduling, like we has the authority to stop the process in the middle and allocate the CPU to another process. Like when it comes to the shortest job first, in the sense, like for each and every process we have seen the burst times, right? Burst time is nothing but the time required for a process to complete its task. That time we call it as a burst time, right? So shortest burst time which process is having, that process should execute. So that is the main funda of this shortest job first scheduling algorithm. What is the shortest job first? In the sense, the processes, suppose here we are going to have are three processes, P1, P2 and P3. Here the burst time of P1 is 5, burst time of P2 is 2 and burst time of P3 is 9. So these are the burst times of different P1, P2 and P3 process. So when it comes to first come first serve scheduling algorithm, when it comes to FCFS, here we'll be going to allocate a process P1. Why? Because process P1 arrived first in the ready queue, so that we'll be going to allocate. But when it comes to the shortest job first scheduling algorithm, we'll be going to see how many processes are there. So here in this example, three processes are there, P1, P2 and P3 processes are there. Like among these three processes, we have to check which is the least burst time. Least burst time, in the sense 5, among 5, 2 and 9, this 2 is the least burst time. Processor P2 is having the least burst time. So in shortest job first, we'll be going to allocate a process P2. That is the difference between the first come first serve and the shortest job first. And this in this shortest job first also we will be going to have preemptive and non-preemptive. So first we will be going to see the non-preemptive shortest scheduling algorithm. So here this is the concept of the shortest job first. So we have to check all the burst times of the processors, and we have to choose the least burst time which processor is having. So here the least burst time the processor handling is P2 is the processor which is going to have the least burst time. So we will be going to allocate this process P2 to the CPU in the shortest job first. So that is the concept of shortest job first scheduling algorithm. So here it works with the shortest burst times or durations. This burst time we can call it as a duration. How much time the process needs to take to complete its task. So that we call it as a duration of a process, or in our terminology, terminology, we call it as a burst time. So this is mainly used in batch systems. So the best example where this shortest job first is used is the batch systems. As I have said you, here is of two times, non-preemptive and the preemptive. Non-preemptive we call it as an shortest job first. Fine. When it comes to the preemptive, we call it as shortest remaining time first. We will be going to discuss this also uh, in the next coming up session. So here first we will be going to discuss regarding this non-preemptive. Non-preemptive in the sense we call it as a shortest job first. When it comes to the preemptive in the sense we call it as the shortest remaining time first. So in order to successfully implement this, like we have to take in consideration the burst time of the processes in advance. So the burst times, if we know the burst times only, then only we can allocate those processes to the CPU. So that is the main criteria what we follow in this shortest job first scheduling algorithm. Here the scheduling algorithm is optimal if all the jobs are available at the same time. So optimal means whenever all the processes are arrived at the same time, then it is very much easy. So whenever all process arrived at same time, we call it as a non-preemptive. So when the processes arrives at different times, so different times in the sense like we will be going to see that in preemptive scheduling. So by seeing an example, you will be going to get an idea like how you will be going to calculate the waiting times of different processes by using the shortest job first scheduling algorithm. So here is an example of non-preemptive shortest job first scheduling algorithm. So as I have said, here there are four processes P1, P2, P3 and P4. So P1 needs 21 milliseconds of time to complete its task. P2 needs 3 milliseconds of time to complete its task. P3 needs 6 milliseconds of time to complete its task, and P4 needs 2 milliseconds of time to complete its task. So if they have given this table, so first we have to prepare the NAT chart. So how we are going to prepare the NAT chart? So see here. So we'll be going to start from the 0. Why? Because in preemptive all processes arrived at 0, arrived at same time. For example, 0 only. Fine. All processes arrived at 0 milliseconds. Then only we'll be going to do this non-preemptive scheduling shortest job first algorithm. So here first at 0, like first we have to consider from 0. So 0, like what all processes are there in the ready queue, these all processes are already there in the ready queue. So we have to choose one process which is having the shortest burst time. Is it not? That is the main funda of this shortest job first scheduling algorithm. So among 21, 3, 6 and 2, which is the shortest burst time? 2 is the shortest burst time. So that is a process P4 is having the shortest burst time. So we'll be going to allocate process P4 in the queue. Fine. How much time it is needed? Process P4 needs 2 milliseconds of time. So here we have written 2 milliseconds of time. Fine. So P4 completed. Now P4 is completed. So we completed P4. Next, what are the jobs left? Here P1, P2 and P3. Among P1, P2 and P3, which is the shortest burst time? P2 is having the shortest burst time. And how much time it is in need of? 3 milliseconds it is in need of. So already it waited for 2 minutes and it needs 3 milliseconds. Total how much? It needs 5 milliseconds of time in order to complete the process P2. So here the process P2 completed. And what are the remaining processes left in the ready queue? Process P1 and process P6. So out of 21 and 6, which is the least one? 6 milliseconds is the least one. So the process P3 will be entering into the queue and it has to execute for 6 milliseconds. Already P3 waited for 5 milliseconds plus it needs 6 milliseconds to complete its task. Totally 11 milliseconds time is needed for a process P3 to complete its task. Got it? And next, here is process, which process is left? Process P1 is left. So if this process P1 enters into the queue, already process P1 waits for 11 minutes and it needs 21 milliseconds of time. Totally, in order to complete the process P1, it needs 32 milliseconds of time. This is how you have to prepare the NAT chart. So preparing forming this NAT chart is a big task. If you have successfully cleared this drawn this chart with an exact numbers, then your problem is going to be very much easy. Fine, you have to understand how to draw the SNAT chart first. For non-primitive shortest job, it is very much easy. Why? Because all processes arrived at 0 milliseconds only. So now all arrived at 0 milliseconds, in the sense all processes are there in the ready queue. Now all are there in the ready queue. What we have to do is, if all processes are there in the ready queue, we have to choose a smallest burst time process. So which is having the smallest burst time? Like that you have to check among the process, and that process you have to allocate first. And how much time it is needed to complete its task? Like 2 milliseconds is needed to complete its task. So 2 milliseconds. And next, which process is having the less burst time? So that you have to write, and how much time it is need to complete the task, that time plus how much time it has been waited. So that time totally you will be going to get the completion time of that process. Now how we are going to find the completion time? Completion time of uh, here I'll be going to make a column. So here I'll be going to write the completion time. So completion time of process P1. So here is the process P1. Process P1 completed at what time? 32 milliseconds of time. Process P1 completion time is 32 milliseconds. And process P2 completion time is, here process P2 completed at 5 milliseconds of time. So 5 milliseconds of time. And process P3 completion time is, P3 completed at 11 milliseconds of time, and process P4 completed at 2 milliseconds of time. This is how you will be going to find the completion time. Fine. This is how you will be going to find the completion time of the different processes. So this is how you will be going to have the non-preemptive shortest job first scheduling algorithm. Simple, very much easy. Like what you have to do is, like among all the processes, you have to pick the least burst time of the processes, and that you will be going to enter first. And that process need how much amount of time to in order to complete its task? So that amount of time you need to write. So waiting time plus that amount of time in which it needs to complete the task, that you have to write. So completion time, in the sense at what time like a process is going to complete, that we call it as a completion time. This is how the non-preemptive shortest job first scheduling algorithm is going to be done. So by seeing this, what is the drawback you are going to face over here is, suppose here, let me explain you. um, so so here the shortest job first drawback is like suppose here we are going to execute, the CPU is going to execute, and here process P1, P2 P3, P4 is there. So P1 burst time is, all these are burst times. P1 burst time is 2, 6, 3 and 1. Fine. So process P1 arrives first, but we'll be going to see the processes which are having least burst time. So least burst time is P4. So now what we'll be going to do is, we'll be going to allocate this processor P4 to the CPU at the first time. So when a P4 completes, we'll be going to check for P2. Then P1 will enter and it is going to task. In the middle, like when P1 is executing, another process P5 has arrived, which is of 1 millisecond of time. Fine. So after completing of P1, again we will be going to give chance for P5. Fine. When P5 is executing, next another process P6 came, which burst time is 2. So already 6 and 3 is there. After P5 we thought of doing P3. But when P5 is executing by the CPU, then another process have joined, which is P6. The burst time is 2 milliseconds. Then first what we thought of giving priority to P3. But now the burst time which is less than P3 came into ready queue. Now what we are going to do is, we'll be going to give chance to the P6 process. So when P6 is executing, another P7 process came, its burst time is 1. So actually we thought of giving that after P6, we thought of giving to P3. Why? Because it is 3. But when it is executing, we got another process which is having the least burst time. So instead of giving 3, what we are going to do? We are going to give to the process P7, like this. So what is the trouble we are going to face over here is, when the jobs with less burst times are adding in the ready queue, we are giving much priority to that least burst times. What about the P6 over here, which is having the highest burst time? It is keep on waiting. So this condition we call it as, this keep on waiting condition we call it as starvation. So this P6 process is keep on waiting. This condition we call it as starvation, which is very important. So this is the drawback you will be going to face in non-preemptive SJF, non-preemptive shortest job first scheduling algorithm. You got my point. So when the processors are admitted in the ready queue, we will be going to select the process which is having the least burst time. So when one process is executing, the process having still least burst time enters in the ready queue, means we'll be going to give priority to that process only. Instead, here P2 arrived at second position, but P2 is keep on waiting for how many milliseconds of time? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like that. All are doing, but we are not making this P2 to execute. Why? Because P2 is having the highest burst time. So here P2 is keep on waiting. This keep on waiting condition we call it as a starvation. Starvation in the sense, it is keep on waiting for the processor to execute. So that condition we call it as a starvation. So how we are going to overcome the starvation? So starvation is going to be overcome by the process of aging. Aging in the sense, suppose suppose if so we thought of giving a P3. So suppose if P7 executed, after P7, like what we'll be going to do is, next we'll be going to give the chance to P3. So when P3 executed, this time will be reduced by 1. Now the P2 time will be 5. Next some P8 process came. Its burst time is 3. So when after completing P3, we'll be going to allocate P8 process. Then this P2 burst time will reduce it to 1. Next some P9 process arrived. Its burst time is 1. So again we'll be going to give to this. Again this is going to reduce it by 1. So what do you mean by aging in the sense? So we'll be going to reduce the burst time of process by 1 after execution of each of the process. so that after some time this P2, like initially the P2 burst time is 6. Now what is the burst time of P2? It is 3 now. That means later on it will be 2, later on it will be 1. It is having the highest priority. So we'll be going to allocate this P2 process to the processor. This is how we are going to overcome the starvation problem by aging. So starvation in the sense keep on waiting. So how to avoid this starvation in the sense? By making use of aging, we'll be going to avoid this. Aging in the sense, when one process executed, like we decrement the value of waiting process by 1. So this we call it as an aging. So like this, after some time, so this 6 is going to be getting to 1. So 1 in the sense we'll be going to have the highest priority and then we'll be going to do it. So this is the drawback you will be going to face in the non-preemptive shortest job scheduling. So in order to overcome that, when we are going for non-preemptive in the sense, all jobs arrived at 0. All jobs arrived at same time. So then we'll be going for non-preemptive. So when we are going for preemptive, so all jobs arrived at different times. Fine. When all jobs arrived at different times, we go for preemptive. So then we go for preemptive. When all jobs arrived at same time in the sense, we go for non-preemptive. When all jobs arrived at different times in the sense, we go for preemptive. Now we will be going to see uh, the preemptive scheduling algorithm of shortest job first. So what is now, till now we have seen the non-preemptive scheduling algorithm. So what is the drawback you faced in non-preemptive scheduling in the sense? This burst times having the highest processes with the highest burst times are keep on waiting. That keep on waiting condition, we call it as a starvation. How to overcome that starvation in the sense? By making use of aging concept, we will be going to overcome that starvation. What do you mean by aging? Aging in the sense, we will be going to decrement the burst time of the process by 1 when one process with the least time is executed, so that highest burst time at some point will get to the least burst time, so that process is going to give the highest priority. What our main motto is, we don't want to make any process to wait for a long time. We have to give chance for all the processes which are arrived in the ready queue. So that is the main motto of non-preemptive, main motto of aging concept. Fine. So by making use of aging, we are overcoming the problem of starvation. And now we will be going to see the non-preemptive. So the problem with non-preemptive is, if the arrival time for the processes are different means, so we will be going to have the problem. So that problem, how we will be going to do is, like we will be going to get a keep on waiting condition, we call it as a starvation. So how we are going to overcome that starvation in the sense? By making use of aging, we are going to overcome the problem of starvation. And next one is preemptive shortest job first. As I have said you before, this preemptive shortest job first scheduling algorithm, we call it as shortest remaining time first. So we call it as a shortest remaining time first. So SRTF, the short form of shortest remaining time first is SRTF scheduling point, because at any given point of time, the job with the shortest time is executed first. So that is the shortest remaining time first. But when it comes to the non-preemptive, all processes arrived at the same time. But when it comes to the preemptive, different processes arrived at different times. But even though they arrived at different times, we will be going to give the priority for the shortest job and then we will be going to make the execution. So that is the concept of this shortest remaining time first. So we will be going to see an example like with the shortest remaining time first. So this primitive shortest job first, we call it as a shortest remaining time first. Shortest remaining time. So SRT F. So this is the shortest remaining time first scheduling algorithm. So here we have to prepare a chart for each and everything, fine. So here now I'll be going to prepare over here for your convenience. I'll be going to prepare over here, fine. So here at like they have given the arrival times. When it comes to the non-primitive scheduling algorithm, we don't have arrival times. Why? Because all processes arrived at 0 milliseconds only. So all are available in the ready queue. So if all are available in the ready queue, so you have to make a note that if all processes are in the ready queue, then shows short one. So this is the thing you have to remember. If all processes once they have been arrived in the ready queue, you have to choose the shortest one. So that is the thing you have to keep in mind, fine. So in this example, we'll be going to see how even though the processes are arrived at different times, how we are giving priority to the shortest job processor. See here. So here we'll be going to have a ready queue. This is the ready queue first. Suppose we'll be going to start at 0 millisecond, right? At 0 millisecond, which process arrived? So arrival time of P0 is 3, P1 is 2, P2 is 0, P3 is 1. So at 0 millisecond, which process arrived? 0 millisecond, P2 process arrived. So P2 process is arrived in the ready queue. So at 0 milliseconds any process arrived? No. So what we have to do? Must and should, we have to give chance to the P2 process only. So we are going to make the P2 process. In the previously, what we have done is like how much burst time this P2 process needed. So that total burst time we have calculated. But here we have to see for each and every millisecond. Suppose in the previously what we have done, P2 needs how much amount of time? 4 milliseconds. So here we have written 4. But here we shouldn't written 4. Why? Because at that time all the processes have been arrived at 0 milliseconds. But when it comes here, the processes are arriving at different milliseconds. So we have to check for each millisecond whether any process have been arrived or not. So that is the difference between that non-primitive and this primitive one. So here at 0 milliseconds, P2 process arrived. So P2 process we kept in the queue. We have given this to the CPU. So at it will be executing for 1 millisecond. 1 millisecond. So if it executed for 1 millisecond in the sense, so here the burst time of CPU will be reduced to 5. Fine. Now at 1 millisecond we have to check any process has been arrived. So at 1 millisecond any process has been arrived. Yes, at 1 millisecond process 3 arrived. So we have to keep that process 3 in the ready queue. And we have to check the burst times of P2 and P3. P2 burst time is say 5 and P3 burst time is 4. Among 5 and 4, which is the least one? 4 is the least one. So we have to give priority to the P3. So P3 will be executed for 1 milliseconds of time. Now it is 2 milliseconds. So now P3 will be 4 to 3. Fine. And next, when it comes to P2 at 2 millisecond, we have to check which process arrived. So at 2 millisecond, which process arrived? P1 process arrived. So we have to keep that P1 process in the ready queue. And we have to check the burst times of P2, P3 and P1. So P2 is 5, P3 is 3 and P1 is 4. Among the all, which is the least one? Again P3 is the least one. So we have to execute P3 again. So we have to execute P3 again. Now it will be reduced to 2. Fine. At 3 milliseconds, which we have to check any process arrived or not. So any process arrived, yes, P1 process arrived. Now P0 process, now P0 process has been arrived. So P0 process arrived. So we have to check all the burst times 2, 5, 2, 4, 5 and 2. So here P0 is having 2 milliseconds and P3 is having 2 milliseconds. First which one came among P0, P1, P0 arrival time is 3 milliseconds and P3 arrival time is 1 milliseconds. These are arrival times. So which came first? P3 came first. So we have to give first come first serve priority over here. So we have to give priority to P3. So P3 will execute for one more second of time. Now P3 will be 1. Fine. And again here you have to notice that all the processes are there in the ready queue. Fine. Here all the processes are there in the ready queue. If all the processes are there in the ready queue means you have to choose one process which is having the least burst time. Now which is having the least burst time 2, 4, 5 and 1. P3 is having the least burst time. So again P3 will execute for 5 milliseconds. And next one, this is 0. Next 2, 4, 5. Out of 2, 4, 5 which is having the least priority? P0 is having the least priority. So P0 will come and how much time it will execute? So 2 milliseconds it executes. So 5 plus 2 is 7 milliseconds. So this is also 0. And next which process will come? 4 and 5. Next one is 4 is the least one. So we will be going to allow P1. So 4 plus 7 it is 11. At 11 milliseconds what is the last one? This 4 is also 0. So P2 is the last one. So we will be going to allocate P2 and what is the time it is having? 5 milliseconds totally. It is of 16 milliseconds. So this is how you will be going to prepare the NAT chart for the preemptive scheduling. Preemptive scheduling in the sense we have to check 1 millisecond of time if any job has been arrived or not. If any job has been arrived, you have to admit that jobs in the queue and then you will be going to check whether any processes are there in the. Once all the processes have admitted, you have to follow this. Once all processor here P1, P2, P3 and P0 all are admitted. Now we need not check for 1 millisecond of time. So once all are there in the ready queue, we have to choose the least burst time and we have to follow the like what we have done in the non-preemptive scheduling. How much burst time it is needed, that much amount of burst time we need to calculate. No need to calculate 1 millisecond of time when all the processes are arrived in the ready queue. So this is how preemptive shortest job first scheduling algorithm is going to be done. Suppose if you want to calculate the completion time, in the sense completion time of P0 is like P0 is 7 milliseconds and completion time of P1 is 11 milliseconds. Completion time of P2 is 1 millisecond and completion time of P3 is 5 milliseconds. Sorry, completion of P2 is 16 milliseconds. We have to come from back. So completion time of P2 is 16 milliseconds. P1 is 11 milliseconds. P0 is 7 milliseconds and P3 is 5 milliseconds. We have to come from the back. So this is the completion time. Now if we want to find out the turnaround time, how we are going to find out the turnaround time? In the sense completion time minus arrival time. Fine, this is the formula to find out the turnaround time. So completion time minus arrival time. So 7 minus 3 it is 5. So 11 minus 2 it is 9. 16 minus 0 it is 16 and 5 minus 1 it is 4. This is how you will be going to find the turnaround time. Fine. And turnaround time formula, another formula is equals to waiting time plus burst time. This is the turnaround time, another formula. Now in order to calculate the waiting time is equals to turnaround time minus burst time. So if you want to calculate the waiting time, what we have to do? We have to do turnaround time minus burst time. So turnaround time minus burst time is the waiting time. So what is the turnaround time of P naught process 5? 5 minus what is the burst time? 2. 5 minus 2 is 3. Here 9 minus 4 is 5. Here 0 minus 5, 0 minus 6 is 6, and here like sorry, here 9 minus 4 is 5. Here we have written turnaround time 16 minus, here we will be going to have 6. 16 minus 6 is 10, and here 4 minus 4 we will be going to get the 0. So this is how we will be going to calculate the waiting time of the processes. So this is how you need to calculate average waiting time, in the sense this all total by how many processes? 1, 2, 3, 4 processes. Average turnaround time means total by 4. This is how you will be going to calculate the average waiting time, average turnaround time, normal turnaround time, like completion time, all the things you will be going to find out like this. Fine. This is, you just practice by taking a small example, so that by at a glance you will be not going to get it. So if you are going to practice once or twice, in the sense you will be going to understand in a better way. So this is how you will be going to calculate the different times of a particular processes. So this is a non-preemptive shortest job first scheduling, which we can also call it as the shortest remaining time first. So what are the advantages and disadvantages, in the sense? Shortest jobs are favored. Why? Obviously, when we are going to have shortest job, like we will be going to make it execute first. So it is probably optimal, that gives a minimum average time for a given set of processes. That is also. So what is the disadvantages? You will be going to face the problem of starvation. How we are going to overcome that starvation, in the sense by making use of aging. So it cannot be implemented at a level of short term CPU scheduling. So these are the disadvantages what we find in the shortest job first or the shortest remaining time first. This is how you will be going to calculate different times of shortest remaining job first. So when it is the shortest job first, we will call it as a non-preemptive scheduling. When it is the shortest remaining time first, we call it as a preemptive scheduling. Like if they asked you, if they have given a problem and find out shortest job first, in the sense, no doubt you have to go for non-preemptive. If they specifically asked that given the arrival times of different processes, in the sense, you have to go for preemptive scheduling. So that is how you will be going to calculate the shortest job for scheduling algorithms. That's all for today. Thank you all students. Have a great day.